Hello again, Metroidvania fans. I'm doing a part 2 because there were just too many suggestions in the comments section of part 1 not to go back. This time I'm looking for games that have a definite 2025 release at the start, with the exception of the second half of the videos that have some titles that are either TBA or just ones that were mentioned in the comments, so I wanted to showcase them off. So let's jump in. Rune Fencer Illyia, please comment if I got that name wrong, is an exceptionally pretty pixel art game here, where you wake up in a strange land with some pretty breathtaking environments and need to try and find your lost twin sister. Among other things, in combat you have the ability to steal enemies' abilities and then use them against them in a fighting system that combines magic and melee fighting. I really like the animations and background art, and the music in the trailer is really nice as well, with food, crafting, and what looks like to be some kind of fishing element. I'm curious to see where Rune Fencer Illyia ends up. I feel like I've been reading about this game for a long time though, so hopefully this one is definitely a 2025 release. To some, leaving out Constance on my first video was a borderline crime, so I'm trying to redeem myself here by talking about this very pretty title slated to release in the last quarter of this year. Constance is a brush-wielding protagonist which allows for some pretty cool looking platforming mechanics, sliding along surfaces with movements that seem very fluid. The art style in Constance is once again exceptional as you play through an emotional journey inspired by Constance's past trauma and declining mental health. Okay, I'm sold on this one. Mira, the Legend of the Djinns, is a retro-style looking pixel art game inspired by Moroccan culture and spiritual traditions. It's definitely telling a unique story with a visual style that looks familiar but is still nice looking. In this game you play as Yuba, a treasure hunter and explorer who happens to find Mira, who is a Djinn. From then on out it's working together to explore and upgrade weapons and artifacts with an upgrade tree and purchasing skill system that will be integral if you want to make it through those difficult enemies. Some games just have a cool factor, and Beyond the Ice Palace 2 for me definitely has it. Releasing in early March on Steam, in this game you play as the Cursed King, rising from the dead and seeking revenge after being imprisoned, perhaps rightly so, in the past. This game has some very retro looking pixel art style, although I've been impressed by the animations, especially in regards to weapon movement and the action sequences. Beyond the Ice Palace 2 is full of hidden arenas, platforming puzzles to solve, and also some of the more impressive looking boss designs that I have seen. A game that attempts to revisit a Commodore 64 classic. Let's talk about Primal Planet, the dinosaur caveman inspired Metroidvania, releasing at some point in 2025. Apparently there's UFOs in there too, so I'm expecting the story to get crazy quite quickly. Primal Planet is a solo dev game that allows you to play as a cave dweller that aims to protect his family and somehow become humanity's last hope. There's very cool enemies to tackle here, including the aforementioned awesome dinosaurs. Big T-Rex fan here, alongside mechanics that require resource collection and crafting to survive. Upgrade a bunch of different physical skills to progress and protect your family across different biomes, and of course, find lots of awesome looking dinosaurs. When I first saw Mark of the Deep, it looked very similar to a bunch of different action roguelike games that have been released over the last year or two, but it does claim to have Metroidvania and Souls-like elements, so I'm including it on the list. It releases in late January, so very soon, and is a pirate-style adventure in which you play as a rookie pirate that is exploring a cursed island to find some of their missing pirate crew. You get the abilities to unlock and master new skills alongside combat that can be upgraded in a game that has over 16 bosses to tackle. Mark of the Deep is definitely not the prettiest game featured in this video, but it does aim to include a lot of content, side quests, and enemies to fight. It's at this point in the video where we are moving to titles that either are maybe coming out this year or I'm including because people demanded that they are here. Enter Magnolia Bloom in the Mist is the first, and whilst this game has already come out in early access, it hits full release in late January 2025. Based decades after Ender Lilies, one of my favourite titles, this game once again explores a dark gothic style fantasy world combining very cool action-based sequences set within a very sad style world with amazing art. You play this time as Lilac, who possesses the power to save the world and search out to discover your lost memory in a post-apocalyptic environment. If you have not played the first yet, I fully recommend you do, and then move on to this one with the full release very soon. Let's move on to another sequel, this time Grime II, which doesn't have a definite release yet, but the original was so well loved, and this title is definitely one of the more anticipated Metroidvania games. I have to admit, I'm not as big a fan as others, but I did enjoy the time that I played through the first. You will be once again playing through a very abnormal looking world as a formless shape, a mimic that can absorb lots of things and mold yourself to the world around you. Grime II allows you to use different abilities and weapons and summon the forms of defeated enemies in battle. The environment around you provides opportunity to assist in combat with enemies and boss fights that definitely look impressive. Fallen Tier: The Ascension is such a pretty looking animated game set in a very rich and vibrant world. It's listed as coming soon, so fingers crossed we get to see this in the not too distant future. You play as Hira, a mysterious boy who has what many Metroidvania characters seem to have. Well, he's forgotten his past and has to go about learning the truth. Fallen Tier has an impressively large world with enemies and gods to challenge, in a game that claims inspiration from Elden Ring and Breath of the Wild in terms of level design, so I'm expecting the freedom to choose and a lot of places to explore. If Fallen Tier delivers on its promise, combining in RPG elements, then it could be one of the better Metroidvania games of the last few years. LUCID was brought to my attention in the comments of my first video, and after seeing the trailer, I knew I'd be mentioning it again at some point. You play through a crystalline world in a game that is very inspired by Celeste, meaning be expecting fast-paced and mechanically tricky platforming. I love Celeste, so no complaints here. You play as Owen and have the chance to absorb powerful abilities that impact your movement and combat as you work towards uncovering the mysteries of Aeterna, a world full of different biomes. Release date is coming soon, so keep an eye out for LUCID. Once again, straight from my comment section of the first video is the very retro looking WOLFHOUND, a sci-fi World War II inspired Metroidvania game. I included WOLFHOUND because it simply looks different to the 23 or so other games I've spoken about, aiming to tell a story in a game that feels like it looks like those nostalgic Atari/Nintendo style platformers, but actually looks really impressive. You play as Captain Chuck Rossetti, the WOLFHOUND, who is sent to infiltrate an uncharted island and rescue some of his friends whilst finding out all the secrets there. Unfortunately for Chuck, the island has zombies and twisted creatures created by the mad scientist who just happens to inhabit that area. A really cool title based in the heart of the Bermuda Triangle. WOLFHOUND has a TBA release at this point. We're going to end with a sequel to one of my favourite Metroidvania games, Aeterna Lucis. You can once again be expecting challenging and fast-paced platforming sequences in an exploration-based Metroidvania game with an in-depth storyline. The first game drew me in with some of the areas that felt epic, and a storyline that I really got drawn into. Whilst the trailer here isn't the most impressive thing that I've seen, I'm definitely keen to wait and see how Aeterna Lucis ends up. Okay, I think we're definitely through with the 2025 Metroidvania preview videos, and I'm ready to jump in and try some of these games that are coming out in late January. If you watched this far through, I'd appreciate if you subscribe. I'm aiming for 3,000 subscribers this year, and YouTube promotes videos with these kind of interactions. Thank you for watching.